Because Pharma said so.
Okay, that's a long question, and I try to keep the answer relatively short. So, first of all, it is not true, or it is the case that not all the parts of pharmaceutical companies are like locked in a static kind of database, right? So if you look into R&D, if you look into a couple of other fields like even the supply chain, they have quite agile tools that allow them to react very fast. The second part is what you said earlier, is that the seasonal effect. So something happens when it's not brand planning season, then we need to wait next year. That's also not really true, not 100% true, because the brand teams do react on these things, but they react outside of the brand planning process. Yep. They don't react inside a common knowledge system. They have the silos, and they have another silo then for reacting on those things, but then manually they need to next year bring it back into the brand planning process or to any other process. So long story short, the companies, they have experience, maybe not in the commercial part, maybe not in the medical part, but in other parts of the companies, and I think the biggest AI use case at the moment in pharma is the drug discovery and R&D kind of topics, right? So commercial is a little bit behind, I would say. And let me just try to make an analogy here. So what we do at the moment with brand planning in this static data sets is like we try to run a 100-meter sprint with worn-out shoes, right? The problem is we love our worn-out shoes because they are comfy, they are loose, they are good to walk in the park, right? But our industry is not walking in the park anymore, right? I'm in the industry now 20 years, and the speed of how things change and how fast we need to be in terms of being competitive is increasing and accelerating from year to year. So what you need to do is you need to exchange your shoes. You need to take off your worn-out shoes. You need to put on your running shoes and put the laces tight. And that is uncomfortable, right? So it's not very comfy. You have to do it by yourself. Nobody can do this for you. I know there's a couple of companies out there who think there is AI or an agency who does that for them. But in the end, they need to put on their shoes. But at the moment, what happens a lot is the companies trying to run 100-meter sprints with a worn-out shoe set. Yeah. And that is it's not designed for success. So what I want to say with that is there is a change element to it. So we need to think differently. We need to adapt the processes to become more agile and to become more integrated within the whole organization. So keeping it in PowerPoint and doing the same kind of repetitive tasks every year to come to a brand plan is just not doing the work anymore. And it also keeps us away from a lot of benefits that are around as well. So long story short, you need to overcome that. You need to create a system where you are able to constantly throughout the year, even though it's not brand planning season, adapt your tactics. You need to rethink your strategic options. You need to react to what happens in the market. And then obviously what you need to do is you need to integrate your brand planning process to all the other processes that are going around, right? So why is a launch excellence process totally disconnected from a brand planning process? Why is an early commercialization exercise so much different and not connected with a in-market process? Why is this, right? So and then that's only the bubble of commercial. But then if you're looking outside of commercial, how can it be that there is a medical plan and a brand plan that is not connected to each other? They should speak about the same kind of issues for the patient. They should have the same kind of direction they're going to. Yes, of course, each of these plans have different kind of nuances and they serve different purposes. But how can they be silos? How can they be totally independent from each other, right? So this, I think, needs to change, and our industry has to leverage the technology to overcome these change issues.